What's going on, guys? Welcome to the episode. Today we are going to be chatting about plants or veggies. And this is super cool stuff that I haven't shared a whole lot about on the pod with you guys yet. So I'm looking forward to this one. So animals have very obvious evolutionary defense mechanisms. So for example, they can run away, they can claw, they can bite. However, once they are dead, they've passed, right? So those mechanisms are no longer relevant. On the other hand, plants are rooted and fixed in the ground, and so they can't run away from predators. They can't claw and they can't bite. And so the way that plants survive and have survived for potentially upwards of 700 million years, so a lot longer than us, is via essentially chemical warfare. They are chemical masters, and their defense mechanisms are far more elegant and much less visible to the naked eye. For example, gluten is a plant protein found in wheat that a lot of folks have issues with, me being one of those people. If I eat too much gluten, my eczema really flares up. Eczema is an autoimmune skin condition. The extreme example of gluten intolerance, or more accurately, an allergy, is celiac disease. These people cannot eat gluten. It makes them very, very sick. And then there are some folks that are just sort of in between. So they might get bloated, they get, lethargic, brain fog, joint pain, things like that. Now, soy is another very common allergen or intolerance for people that can often manifest in similar symptoms. So digestive upset, bloating, etc. Plenty of people are also allergic to sesame. I actually figured out that I have a sesame issue because years ago I went for sushi and there were sesame seeds all over my rolls and I ate them and my lips just absolutely blew up. I looked like I had that fresh upper lip fill. It was wild. Some people eat peanuts, and man, this is a biggie. They can go into anaphylactic shock and die. Now, peanuts, even though they have nut in their name, they're actually legumes, so they're more like beans. The same goes for cashews. Cashews are also legumes. Point being, once an animal is dead, we can consume them without having to worry about them harming us. However, plants are still quote unquote alive after they're unrooted from the ground because those chemicals can still very much cause issues for humans. Now, some folks seem to be a lot more tolerant to a wide variety of plants. I've had plenty of clients that do well with veggies. However, I've also had clients that aren't so lucky. And there is a really big spectrum here. Everyone is truly different when it comes to which plant foods that they tolerate and which ones they don't. For example, I've had plenty of clients that don't do well with cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and asparagus. They get super gassy and bloated. This is pretty common. Tomatoes are another intolerance that I see pop up fairly frequently because tomatoes are from the nightshade family, which also include potatoes, eggplant, and peppers. I remember me and an ex-girlfriend of mine went for Thai food. Love Thai food. And we got this amazing yellow curry, and she had a pretty severe reaction to it. Her eyes got super puffy, her hands and feet were inflamed, and her stomach was in knots. And we figured out that it was from the eggplant. She does not do well with nightshades. Now, meat, on the other hand, is very well tolerated by essentially everyone. Red meat is actually one of the most well-tolerated foods on the planet, period. However, meat allergies do exist, but interestingly enough, it's not necessarily from the meat itself, but from something called a Lone Star tick bite. So when folks get bitten by this very specific type of tick called a Lone Star tick, it's possible that they may develop a meat allergy as a result of that. It's wild, right? However, this is incredibly rare. Now, I have had clients who thought that they might be allergic to meat. However, when we isolated out the factors at play, they weren't. For example, I had a client who thought that she was allergic to red meat, and because of that, she didn't have it very often. But what I discovered via pattern recognition, this is something that I do a lot for my clients, was that every time that she had red meat, she had it in spaghetti sauce with a whole bunch of tomatoes and spices like garlic, pepper, etc. So I figured out that it wasn't actually that she was allergic to meat, but rather she was sensitive to the tomatoes and garlic. Tomatoes also being nightshades. One very common side effect of tomatoes and garlic is actually heartburn. Tons of people get heartburn and acid reflux after eating certain foods like tomatoes and garlic. The cause of acid reflux and heartburn is actually just food intolerance. Many of my clients don't know that when they first come to me. So if you're crushing Tums, those clay-like flavored antacid products, if you address your diet, fortunately you'll never have to take another Tums again. So the only way to truly know whether you tolerate a food or not is to isolate out all of the variables. So for example, if you ate a steak with nothing but salt on it and you had a negative reaction, that would be considered an allergy or sensitivity. Personally, I've never met someone or worked with someone that falls under this category, but like I said, it does exist via that Lone Star tick bite scenario. Now, a lot of people don't digest fake meat products well, and this makes perfect sense because they are a heavily processed food. For example, meat has one ingredient. It's meat. And something like Beyond Meat products have 18 ingredients, plus a whole bunch of synthetic vitamins that simply don't compare to the real thing. It is a whole different ballgame. And I say Beyond Meat product because it is a product made by a corporation. It is not a food. Circling back around to plants, we're told that plants are the bee's knees, right? The more the better. Get your vitamins, your minerals, your antioxidants, etc. However, for some folks, that advice is not only not helping them, it's harming them because digestion is so very important for overall health via inflammation. The root of inflammation is in the gut, not to mention things like bloating, diarrhea, constipation, etc. Just super unpleasant issues to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Some people seem to be able to tolerate veggies just fine, and for those folks, the general recommendations totally work. But we truly are all different when it comes to this stuff. So if you're having digestion issues that just will not get better, this episode is going to be a game changer for you, or at least I hope it is. Speaking of game changer, I'm working on something super exciting right now in relation to all of this digestion and inflammation stuff, and I'm going to be sharing that with you next week, so you won't want to miss next week's episode. I'm pumped, and this is something that's been 3+ years in the making, so I'm just stoked to share it with you guys, especially because I think it's really going to help. But what about fruit? Fruit is kind of unique because it really lures us in with its bright color and amazing taste via sweetness. And the way that fruit essentially makes sure that it survives is actually by enticing animals like us to eat it and then excrete or discard the seeds in a different area to where it's currently growing, and then it can take root and grow there. Fruit seeds are fruit babies. Now, if you eat too much fruit, you can absolutely cause issues for yourself. However, in general, fruit does seem to be better tolerated from a digestion standpoint than vegetables. And man, this evolutionary biology stuff is just so fascinating, right? Like, how clever are plants? Veggies have their chemical defense mechanisms, and fruit entice us with their deliciousness, and we help them spread their seeds. Nature is just absolutely incredible. I love it. Now, like I mentioned, be sure to tune in next week for something super exciting. I'm stoked to share it with you guys. And if you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. On Instagram, I'm at N1Fitness. On TikTok, I'm at the N1Fitness. And on YouTube, I'm at Marcus Sadu. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.